Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Happy news for me over here in Tennessee because I've been snowed in for the past few days because it snowed so much. We're not used to that in Tennessee. I used to live in New York. I grew up in Michigan. I was used to snow there, but here I'm not. I wasn't expecting it to be so cold. So what happened was some of my pipes froze and I was worried about a burst pipe, but now the water is all running again. Everything is fine, nothing burst. The snow is melting, the ice is melting. So I'm gonna go out pretty soon. So I'm gonna keep this pretty short because I wanna go out. I've been stuck in the house for about 3 days. Another reason I didn't wanna go out, I'll just put this little aside here, is because I'm sure you read or heard or saw, you know the news about the 100-car pile-up in Texas when they had all that snow recently, and there was this enormous traffic accident, a 100-car pile-up. Now, why was that? It was because people in Texas are not used to driving in snow like I am, coming from up north. So I decided I should stay off the road. I don't want to be on the road with these drivers. A lot of the problem is they have these anti-lock brakes these days, which should help. You shouldn't slam on the brakes if you find yourself skidding on ice. All you'll do is lose control of the car. The advice used to be pump the brakes, and then, so you intermittently have control. Now, I understand that there's an automatic braking system now that would do that. If you slam on the brakes, it goes on and off, on and off. So that's one problem solved. The other problem is don't follow so closely behind other cars when the weather is bad, when the roads are a little slick. If you have to hit the brakes, even with anti-lock brakes, if you're not leaving a sufficient distance. And I have to say, it's a criticism of Tennessee, at least where I live outside of Memphis. A lot of crazy drivers out here, even in great, perfect weather. So I stayed off the road for my own safety. I hope it's safe now. I guess I'm going to find out pretty soon. So today's subject, it's peripherally about Parler. Parler, as you know, was taken off the internet. They are now back. They are now, as far as I know, completely back. I was getting on Parler for a little bit, and then I couldn't for the past, I would say, week or so. Now it looks like the site is fully up. The temporary CEO, a guy named Meckler, he was on TV earlier today talking about how they were back, how they took precautions, they have redundancies now. First of all, they found a sympathetic service that believes in free speech, so they don't have to worry in that respect about being taken off the internet. But also, they built in redundancies. They have backup plans now, so they will not be taken off again, which is going to make a lot of liberals unhappy now that people can speak freely again. And there was a question whether Donald Trump would go on to Parler now that he can't go on to Twitter. But I heard him mention the other day he might start his own service. He might start his own platform, put it that way, where he can go on. It'll be his own platform. So we'll wait and see what happens. I don't know why he can't post to multiple places. They'll put the same, well, it wouldn't be called a tweet, whatever it is, the text, the message, on his own platform and put it on Parler. The more people he could reach, the better. But talking about censorship and Parler leads me into Parler censorship and media bias. I'm just going to, and you could call this a test also, to test whether you're a liberal or not. I'll get to that in a moment, but first I want to show you this video. I talk about press bias and media bias, the liberal media, which is most of the media, and the legacy media, that's another name for them, or mainstream media. This is an example of, this is somebody discussing Parler, what I just said, a liberal reacting to Parler being back on the air again, and he's talking about Parler, and he's talking about the January 6th occupation of the Capitol by protesters, or if you will, a riot, but in no way what you would qualify as an insurrection. But this is a liberal commentator commenting on those two things. So I'm just going to let you watch the video, and then I'll be back. Just watch the video. It really speaks for itself.
Parler is back. The controversial app, popular with conservative users, has relaunched online, saying it is, quote, not reliant on so-called big tech. This comes after it virtually vanished from the web when major providers cut ties in the days following the Capitol insurrection. NBC News senior media reporter Dylan Byers joins us now. Dylan, good to see you. So service providers accuse the app of failing to police violent content related to the January 6th insurrection. So how has it managed to get back online without support from major web services and hosting platforms?
Well, it's basically cobbled together a group of small independent providers. You have a very small Los Angeles-based provider called Sky Silk, and they've also elicited help from what we might think of as less than savory actors, a Russian firm that raises questions about whether or not Russians can look into the data of Parler users, a Seattle-based firm that's been known for supporting fringe groups, including some neo-Nazi groups, in terms of helping them get back online. So, you know, they're doing this, like you said, without the support of big tech, without the Amazons, the Googles, the Apples, those firms that had effectively dropped them. And what they're doing is effectively positioning it as a free speech fight and a free speech campaign.
Now, Parler has sold itself as a platform with more freedom to say what you want. That includes unproven conspiracy theories. Will things be any different now that it's back online?
No, I don't think so. And I think the reason for that is because so much of this return is being staged as a sort of political campaign, as a sort of way of saying we are going to fight for our right to say whatever we want. And I think to that end, we're going to find that some of the stuff that appears on their platform will continue to test the boundaries of what's acceptable in terms of online speech.
And Dylan, quickly, there's been a shakeup in the Parler C-suite among its execs. What's happened while it has been offline?
Yeah, effectively what happened is that the founding CEO was voted out by the board, and chief among them, Rebecca Mercer, who's a key sort of funder of conservative movements from the Mercer family. And they've effectively replaced her with a new CEO who sort of comes from the Tea Party wing of the movement. Whether or not this new CEO has the ability to sort of manage Parler through what is probably going to be some very sort of controversial, rough waters will remain to be seen.
We'll see what happens. Dylan Byers, thank you so much.
As I said, speaks for itself. And that gets to my test of whether you're a liberal or not, or a liberal who's in denial, or a liberal who is not in denial to himself but doesn't want to make an obvious admission. But that clip that I just showed you, that is so obviously, so blatantly biased that if you don't think that that's biased, then you're a liberal. You have to be a liberal. You have to be very liberal. And I would say if you you would be a liberal if you think that was unbiased, or if you will not admit that that was biased, knowing inside, in your heart, in your mind, that it was, because it's blatant bias. And that's what we conservatives, full disclosure, I'm a conservative, so always keep that in mind when you evaluate whatever I say. So getting back to what I was saying, if you're a conservative, that is what we're up against. All I can say for now is that I really appreciate the time that you all spend with me. It's a great pleasure to bring my views to you. Another pleasure would be if you give me a thumbs up if you like this video, share with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Comment section below the video. Questions, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You can visit my music channel where I put my original music. Working on a brand new song right now, but there are several up there that you can just have listen to now for your listening pleasure. But most of all, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.